So my number one is a movie called Summertime from 1955, directed by David Lean, starring Katharine Hepburn. And a quick log line: an American spinster's dream of romance finally become bittersweet reality when she meets a handsome but married Italian man when vacationing in Venice. Not the best log line, but oh well. So this movie, oh gosh, I'll have to kind of compose my thoughts because this movie definitely means a lot to me in so many ways. But really what it comes down to is this movie captures for me the wonder of travel and the loneliness that comes with it. You know, in my last movie pick, I was talking about sometimes traveling alone is pretty great because you get to kind of do your own thing, but with it comes a lot of loneliness. So this moment when, you know, you made it to the place which you've been wanting to go to, you know, you shuttle from the airport shuttle van from the airport, from the plane to the actual airport. You're sort of giddy, excited, feeling kind of icky and dirty and what have you. And then you finally make it to the hotel and you've showered. Until that moment, the excitement, the giddiness, and a slight nervousness of like, what's this going to be like is all there with you. And then the moment you've taken your shower and you look outside the window, that's the moment where it suddenly hits you, at least it hits me in my alone travels, that this is probably a big mistake. Why am I here? I'm alone by myself. There's no one with me. Everyone's going to be looking at me. I'm going to be walking around on my own. Should probably just go back or just go back to bed. So of course you power through that, you know, fleeting moment, and then it's all wonderful. And you take those first steps out of the hotel after you showered and you're ready. And then the sights, the culture, the smells, the people, the sounds, it all sort of takes over, and you're, you know, happy and excited to be there for sure. But I think this movie captures that so well. Obviously, you know, this is David Lean who we are talking about. So as a movie, like, it's a grand movie for, you know, how it's shot and how it's made, and it's sort of totally transportive in every way, all departments firing at all cylinders. But it's also a very intimate, unglamorized movie for the fact that it's from the 50s and it's in Venice, which could, you know, be glamorized and has been in the movies like crazy. And I think, and it is, but I don't know, it feels very real to me. And I think it comes down to Hepburn's performance, I think.
Yeah.
Where there's not much exposition on who this woman is. What did she do? What's her life? Who are her friends? Was she married? Does she have kids? You don't really know much about her, but you see all of it on her face. Like, this is somebody who's built a life. This has been a lifelong dream, is excited and giddy to be there, but at the same time is so vulnerable because she's carrying that baggage of her life with her. And I think this movie does a great job at, when you're in a new place, how you wrestle with what that place has to offer.
Right.
Whether it's new people who might feel charming or interesting, do you go with them or not? Do you step outside the comfort zone and try something new or not? You know, and just the baggage that you bring with yourself. I mean, you've talked about this in your movies too, that travel is an escape for sure, but it's only an escape so far, right? Like, your real life is still always with you. It doesn't take much for a line or a moment or a sound that takes you back to your real life, even though you're not at home, that sometimes can bring a happy memory or sometimes can bring a sad memory. And suddenly, even though you might be in front of the most beautiful location, eating gelato or whatever, and you suddenly still are lonely and sad because somehow that moment has brought up some other feelings from your past, that, oh, how I've been single, you know, all this time, or how I was cheated by somebody else, and now this person is advancing at me, and all of it, right? So I think that's what this movie is so special, that it's just so real and grounded in this sort of unreal setting. Venice is kind of unreal if you think about it, you know. So it's by design, I think, that they chose this city or this place as this at the backdrop or really the subject of the movie. So yeah, I just love it. Every time I watch it, I pick something new. It's also very funny. It's also the little urchin boy that she forms the friendship with is just so hilarious to me. There's something sad about that, but also very charming about that. The other American tourists that you meet
Oh yeah.
throughout the journey, some are annoying, and all the stereotypes that we've talked about throughout this podcast, you see a little bit of
Oh,
that.
definitely.
And then just on a personal note, so me and my family, right before I came to the US, we did like a big Europe trip, and Venice was one of the locations. And my mom and dad were already there for some of my dad's work, and my sister and I then joined them in Europe, in Switzerland, and then we took trains to other places. And I'd forgotten how much baggage they'd taken with themselves, because they were going to formal events, so they had lots of
Oh
clothes and
yeah.
such. So we show up there. Of course, we're taking all these trains. There aren't that many porters, or if any. There are no trolleys. So my memory of getting to Venice is at 2 a.m., dragging 6 heavy suitcases amongst the 4 of us,
Yeah.
getting to this beautiful place, of course, but then you're lugging all your stuff to the ferry, getting to a hotel getting dropped by the ferry to the other side at, like, I don't know, 3 a.m. This is pre Google Maps. You have some paper map,
Right.
trying to find a way to your hotel, asking some, random drunk tourist about where this place even is, showing up to the hotel at 4 a.m. And of course, our room is at the 3rd floor, no elevator again.
Ah,
So we're dragging all this shit up all over again. And it's hot and humid during this time, even at that hour of the
yeah.
day. So it's actually not a pleasant memory at all of being in Venice. But I look back at it and I just crack up that, this is sort of a movie.
Right.
And I remember I even said to my parents that, have you moved here or what? Like, why do you have so much stuff? This is ridiculous. So we still laugh about it. But, again, like you said, or like we talked about memory, I remember that fondly, honestly, even though in the moment it was excruciating. But I want to go back to Venice and sort of do it for real, and maybe find my own little red glass goblet this time.
Oh. Yeah, I've only been to Venice. Is that the only time you've been there? Just once?
Yep.
Yeah, I've only been to Venice once too. It was in high school. For I was in a singing group in high school, and we were doing a European tour, and we were there for about 2 days. And I want to go back again because I spent most of my time trying to find. So the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, there's a famous sequence in Venice with a church that they go into, and then they come out of like a sewer grate in front of this church. I spent most of my time just trying to find that church. And this, again, was pre Google Maps. Like, I was like, where's the filming locations? Like, I didn't really, I would kind of regret not focusing more on like the city itself and just be like, oh, I'm in Venice. It's like, okay, where's that filming location? Like, that's what I want to find. So I definitely want to go back myself too. But yeah, getting to the film, I agree with everything you said. Like, I'm a huge David Lean fan. This is a fantastic film. One that I had seen a little later in my Lean appreciation.
Right.
Focus more on his larger epics. This is something I was going back and trying to fill in some gaps. So I saw this in college on DVD for the first time. It just, I mean, the Technicolor, like the look of Venice in this is so beautiful. But what I think this movie does such a great job of doing is it, like, a lot of the themes, if not all of them that we've talked about already, through the other movies we've explored, are all like inside of this movie in a way.
Yep.
And I think this film too, even more so than anything we've talked about as well, really captures the experience of the traveler. Like, you feel like you're a tourist in watching this film because she is acting like a tourist, for better or for worse, in all those different situations. Even the first 20 minutes or so, all she is like she's so focused about taking photos. She's not really like experiencing much of anything.
This is like the old age Insta person.
Yeah. It was funny.
Everything. I'm like, what are you doing, Jane? Get over with it.
Exactly. So I was thinking, like, man, they complain now about like people, you're always on your iPhone, like Instagram and everything. Well, like 50, 60 years ago, there were people still with those little Insta cameras. So that's not a new problem.
By the way, a giant camera, which makes a terrible annoying sound, which she's like rotating all the time. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah. So like it captures all those things that are still, going on today. I mean, even the themes we were talking about in all these movies of like, oh, it's the checklist people. Like those are the folks from, Ohio that she meets. And they're always like, oh, we schedule our free time in the schedule. It's like, oh my God. And I think she's a little bit like that too in the beginning, honestly, like her character. And then as she kind of opens up and lets the city kind of get a hold of her, and then she meets the gentleman who she falls in love with, I think then she's really experiencing the true city and is growing as a person too. But then there's also that, the sadder part of it of like a vacation doesn't last forever, and you might have a little like fling, with the gentleman in Venice, but you can't take him back home. This isn't your life. Like you got to go back to that. So there is that sadness at the end of the film. Actually is really sad. I feel like when she leaves. I think all the themes we talked about are encapsulated in this film. And, I'm actually not a big Katharine Hepburn fan. I appreciate her more than I like her, but I think this is easily one of her best performances.
Agreed.
She brings so much to this character that is all this backstory that you don't ever explain, but you understand it in her performance.
Totally.
So it's fantastic film. And like I said, just hits all the notes of all the themes we talked about. So I'm glad you put it on the list.
I'm so glad you love this movie. And yeah, to kind of the last thing that you were saying, you have to go back to your real life, but I think travel ever so little changes you.
Yes.
Like I feel like came out of her comfort zone. She tried something, she took a chance, and there were many bumps along the way when she finds out, oh, he's married, or oh, the goblet is not real, or whatever. Her tendency is to like go back and retreat in her shell, like, not okay, burnt, hand is burned, let's just go back. But then she comes back, and I feel like she's taking that with her now. That I hope Jane is going to take more risks and more chances, even if she gets bitten or gets her hand burnt, which is what travel does. It opens you up a little bit to possibility and chance. And you, to your point of growth, you really see that. And you see that in her face when she's on the train leaving. Such a good movie.
No, it's fantastic. Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.